we spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitts Show. And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show. I'm your host, Jay Pitts, here with Ryan Harris. I'm wondering if I should be the co-host and you should be the host.
And we could try that one episode.
We could try
It'd be
that.
funny.
Well, so I have to plan then and come up with all the things.
Yeah.
And then I have to lead you and you get to do all the commentary. See, like, as it stands, this is more of like a sports telecast. And you're the play-by-play.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
And I'm the color. Right? I get to react to all the things, but you make the plan and you keep us like the train on the tracks.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's the arrangement we have.
Yeah.
But
It's
like
good.
still, I feel like that makes you the host and me the co-host.
I don't plan that much. I mean, I get here about an hour before the podcast every day.
And it doesn't take a lot.
But we've talked about this on here. I will save interesting articles or things I see throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll send them to you. Sometimes I won't. I sent one to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into that one today.
Sure. And I've got one that I posted on my stories, my Instagram story yesterday that I feel like is worthy of mentioning.
Let's start out with that then.
Okay. That's great. Put me on the spot there, Ryan. So I'm going to have to find the tweet, but I'll find the screen grab that I took first and kind of tee this up. But basically, my message in posting it yesterday was that agents really needed to pay attention to this. And it's kind of in line with, me kind of blowing the whistle on this like false media narrative that we see surrounding real estate, right? There's a lot of negativity surrounding the real estate market right now. And I get it, like, sweeping changes with an AR settlement, real sentiment about realtors, things like that, just like make it very easy to come from a very negative place with respect to the industry. But basically, this was a post, and unfortunately, I don't know that I've got... Okay, so the title is Home Price Shifts in America's 50 Largest
I have
Metro
that on here.
Area Housing Markets.
I have that article.
Okay, all right. So it says pulled from the Lance Lambert House Price Tracker, which consequently I think is what Zillow uses.
Yeah, it's Zillow's home price data for 50 largest metro housing markets.
There you go. And
housing markets?
Who posted the tweet?
Resi Club,
which
we've talked about.
We've talked about it at length here. Well, anyway, so I posted it on my story with a little pointer toward the Louisville market.
We're the 46th largest.
We're the 46th largest out of those 50 markets. Yes. For perspective, New York is number 1. Los Angeles is number 2. Chicago is number 3. Number 50 is Buffalo, New York. So, kind of a peer city with Louisville. Salt Lake City, Utah, another Louisville peer city. Memphis, Tennessee at 44. New Orleans, surprisingly low at 47, in my opinion. But, Louisville's right there at 46. And basically what it says is that month over month, Louisville's up 0.1%. Year to date, Louisville is up a modest, I believe, 4.9%. Year over year, 3.2% at the time of publish. 6.4% up since what they call the shift peak, which was 2022.
Yep.
And I suppose that coincides with interest rate increases. Down 0%. A number of the list are down since 2022, that 2022 peak, and up 37.8% since March of 2020, which is pretty modest gain compared to the balance of the list. If you go down through the list, you've got 60%, 51%, 44%, 57%, 53%, 52%. There's a number of the cities in the top 50 that are up more than Louisville's 37.8%. Yeah. Now, consequently, looking at the U.S. as a whole, U.S. is up 4% year to date, up 2.5% year over year, up 3.1% since 2022 peak, not down, and up 45%. So Louisville essentially mirrors the national averages.
Yep.
Which I think we could kind of see that, right? We're a modest moving market. We're not up the most. We don't have wild swings downward usually. We didn't see the anywhere near. Louisville was probably above average in terms of detriment from the 2008, 2009 foreclosure crisis. I think there are reasons for that, but we certainly weren't the worst. We weren't Vegas. We weren't Detroit. We weren't Pittsburgh. We weren't, heavy industrial cities that saw tons of foreclosure. And we haven't seen the run up the way that, Austin, Texas, or, Denver, Colorado, or Nashville, Tennessee, or several Florida cities, we weren't the poster child for crazy appreciation through 2021 and 22 either. So again, here we are, looking at the very simple economic indicators of supply and demand.
Yep.
Rates go up, supply tapers, or demand tapers. Supply has stayed fairly constant, right? It's been low, it's crept up, but again, I've explained in this podcast how it's a tale of two markets, right? There are homes on the market that will not sell, and that's the excess supply. So, sales are down modestly year over year on unit sales. Prices are up modestly year over year based on, relatively stable demand and low supply. So, yeah, we're selling 2%, 3% fewer units, and we have 4% increase in prices. So commission dollars are relatively constant.
Yeah.
Right. And what's crazy to me is, on top of this, our team, our sample size, and our brokerage, sample size of roughly 40 and 110. Right? Sample sizes of 40 agents and their production, sample sizes of 110 agents and their production have mirrored what I'm saying in the market, right? We have not seen crazy downsides. We haven't subsided at all. 21 was great. 22 was better. 23 was about the same. 24 looks about the same as 23. 2022 was up modestly from 21. For the last 4 years, 21, 22, 23, 24, our production in terms of commission dollars generated and volume sold has stayed very consistent.
Yeah.
We have done it in fewer units because prices have continued to rise modestly, 4%, 5% a year. But yeah, it's kind of wild to me, honestly, how predictable things seem, despite the tumult that you see and that you hear. I mean, it's nothing in comparison to how the media presents it.
Yeah. I'd be interested to check some data, give it a couple more months, and see if number of home sales have dropped since all these new changes have gone into effect.
Simultaneously, rates start tapering down too.
Yeah.
So, I'm reading things talking about, high fours by mid 25.
What time are they making that announcement today?
Yeah,
about
whether it's going to be whether it's a quarter or a half today is going to be a big.
They're calling for 75 basis points even.
Some people saying 75. I think 75 is probably ambitious too.
Well, and I had on here,
I think that's a really bad sign to be.
Elizabeth Warren wrote a letter to Jerome Powell demanding a 75 basis point rate cut.
I mean, that's something.
Which, if that happens, things are going to go through the roof.
I think that's inflationary. I think that's a little too much.
What time are they making that announcement?
I don't know.
Let me see if I can find out.
12:30 IST. What's IST?
Zero idea.
I have zero idea what
Was it
IST
supposed to be
is.
an E?
I mean, maybe. International Standard Time?
Probably. Which I don't know
what
that means.
The Fed outcome, that was 49 minutes ago. 12:30 a.m. IST. What's a.m.?
To me, EST is the International Standard Time.
Eastern Standard. Yeah, the American markets respond.
But I think, we were talking so Louisville's housing market, essentially since 2020, home prices are up 38%. And you're looking at your biggest investment of your life outside of retirement or any stocks you're invested in. It's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make, and that purchase appreciates 30% or 38% over 4 years. Pretty awesome. For all the people that say renting's better than buying, I think that's just the number you have to look at right there.
Yeah. The first thing they say, which by the way, I'm saying 2 p.m.
Okay.
EST, and 2:30, Jerome Powell will hold a press conference to speak about cuts and forward moving plan. People would then argue, Ryan, is that, I'm too late. 38% over 4 years. The door's closed. Home ownership and affordability are out of my reach.
Yeah.
Which we've widely debunked on this podcast. I go back to expectations, and I realize I am running the risk of sounding like the get off my lawn kind of guy, the old crusty guy with the gray beard. But if you can just find a way to live in a $200,000 house for the next 2 years, right? Appreciation happens fastest at the bottom, right? In terms of rate, right? Now, obviously the law of big numbers and economies of scale kick in, and 4% appreciation on $1 million is greater than 4% appreciation on 200,000.
Sure.
So obviously that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you're more likely to see 7 or 8% at 200,000 than you are to see 7 or 8% appreciation at $1 million.
Yep.
So if you can just find a way to live 2 years, to buy something under market value, okay, below market median, add value for 2 years, retire debt for 2 years, right? During, an incline in earnings period of your life, and then parlay that into another one, or keep it as a rental for another 2 years and sell without capital gain inside of the 5th year, and then get this snowball rolling. That's the price of entry. And yes, the price of entry has changed, but I don't remember homeowners feeling like home ownership was incredibly, affordable in 2019 either. Right? Earnings were much lower.
Mm-hmm.
Expectations of earning. Here recently we saw something, I don't know what it's based on, but they're saying that the, 2000 equivalent of making 6 figures is now 318,000 or something like that. Right? You have to make 318,000 now in 2024 to live the equivalent life you could have lived for 100,000 in the year 2000 when I graduated high school.
It's pretty crazy.
Right. It is pretty crazy. And I don't know if that's accurate, but if it is, we certainly feel it. We certainly see it. I'm very fortunate. I had a conversation with my kids this morning with my 12-year-old, really. He's 12, right? He lives a very charmed life, right? He knows it most of the time, but like any 12-year-old, he can find himself in a place where he feels slighted at times. And so I when those moments happen, I try to exercise the opportunity to explain to him just how good he has it. Yeah. Right. And I try to keep it from getting too lectury, but it's a lecture. And I explained to him my very early career and the things I had to do to be able to afford him this life, even though he wasn't alive then. I told him, I said, dude, because he loves watching my videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He loves watching the clips that Hannah does. Kids always want to do it. They always want to see them. They think they're funny, especially the ones where we say something funny, or there's a funny noise or a funny pop up, or the one that I think one of the early ones that was slightly more viral, that where Hannah made my face wavy. They loved that. Cause they thought it was goofy. But anyway, I told Preston, I was like, one of my videos said, I basically told the audience that I worked 90 hours a week my first year in the business. I was like, those are just words, but do you understand what that means? And I sat there and walked him through it. I said, okay, well, it's 12 hours a day. It's 7 to 7, right? Fair? 7 to 7 is 12 hours?
Yep.
Doing my math right? Okay, multiply that by Monday through Friday. How many hours is that? Oh, that's 60 hours.
It's probably more than 90 with
it's
the weekends.
60, well, that's what I said. It's 60 hours. That's only if it's 7 to 7.
Yeah.
And it was 7:30 a.m. I'm driving him to school. I said, so I would have been at work for 30 minutes already. And I wouldn't go home until 7 o'clock tonight. And if I only do that Monday through Friday, that's still only 60 hours. I got 30 more hours to get to 90. I said, how many hours are you supposed to sleep? Oh, 8. I was like, all right. So 12 plus 8 is 20. That only leaves 4 hours to do anything else.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I had to work 30 more So what we came to is like I had 1 hour a day to do something other than work and sleep. And he just like it, you could see it hit him. And I was like, look, dude, like I did that. I said, you know what? I didn't do it because I was wise. I did it because I was scared. I was afraid of failing.
Yeah.
Right. And it was bad out. It was 2008, which he doesn't understand. But like, I did it because I was freaked out and scared. And fear is an incredibly serious motivator. And I didn't do that forever. But, you know, I worked 60 or 70 hours a week pretty regularly for the next 10 years probably. And I said all that to get to a place where I am now where I can pick you up from school at 2:30.
Yep.
And not worry about it. I can go play golf. I can coach your sports teams, right? All of that is what prepared us for this moment. I said, but like that's ahead of you in your life. If you really want to do something special, there's sacrifice. And there's no complaining. Complaining doesn't get you anywhere.
Also, nobody wants to hear anybody else complain.
No, nobody cares.
Which is a tough thing sometimes in a real estate office.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people like to complain.
Yeah.
I've learned, and I think it's more normal for newer agents, which I get. But at some point, you got to realize nobody wants to hear that, and nobody really cares because everybody has something they can complain about.
Well, so that is a famous conversation I've had that is very memorable to me. I suppose famous is not the right word. It's famous in my mind. I had a conversation with my brother, who's very accomplished, very successful, very good at what he does. And he just kept telling me he was doing his best. And I was just like, dude, I'm sorry, but nobody gives a shit. Yeah. I appreciate that. And I'm sure you're telling me the truth. But nobody cares. Your clients don't care. If your excuse on why they didn't get what they want is that it just didn't happen, but you did your best, they don't give a shit. They don't work with you for your best. They work with you to get what they want. And so don't tell anybody you did your best. They don't care. They care about them. They like you. They like them better, right? They work with you to get results, right? Now that's wholly different than somebody having unrealistic expectations. You have to be able to tell someone when they have unrealistic expectations in a way that doesn't offend them.
Yeah.
That's incumbent upon you as the professional. This and you know what's funny is talking about all this is the stuff that, we started off talking about the NAR settlement and it being hard and negativity in the real estate business. This is why people don't do this shit.
Yeah.
They don't tell people in a respectful way, in a persuasive, respectful way, that their expectations are out of whack. If you can do that, you don't have negativity around you.
Yeah.
You solve problems.
It's a good lead into, I was going to bring up the GLAR dues change from bi-yearly to annual.
Weird, right?
It is
Did
weird.
you hear about that? I didn't hear about it.
I didn't hear about it, but
Was it
I just saw on
supposedly
on those Facebook groups, agents were so
mad,
mad about
not only
it.
that, they were increased. Dues were increased. Also.
Yeah, but isn't it the first time they've increased in like 22 years?
Something like that.
So like I get it.
Which is a bit that's a bit misleading. So your dues, every agent, regular old agent, not like a member of the board, right? A member of the board of directors, right? Not somebody in, planning and, leadership at the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors. Normal people, just people that sell, that get a bill and pay it. When you say dues, they think the whole bill.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that bill is MSI dues. It's Board of Realtors dues. It's KAR dues. It's NAR dues. It's Supra fees. It's application fees. It's GLAR pack, like political action committee contribution. Some of those have gone up.
Yeah.
What they're talking about is board dues have not gone up.
I guess here's my point. So
the bill has gone up.
for me, here's what because I'm a member of KCREA. It cost me $1,500.
Me too.
I had two options. I could pay it and complain about it, or I could pay it and forget about it and go make more money.
Absolutely.
So
Dwelling on negativity
I paid
never helps.
the minute I got the email. and haven't thought about it since until right now.
Yeah. And now
Other
we're talking
than
about
when I
other
see
people
on
complaining.
Facebook complaining about it. Just pay it.
It's
Go make
wild.
more. What am I
Move
going to
on.
do? Not pay it? No. This is how I make money. It's how I make good money.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm paying it and moving on. It
So
was
the email
$1,500
says GLAR dues adjusted from $227 to $250, so a $23 increase, fairly nominal. MSI dues, which is your MLS, increased from $275 to $325, so that's $50 increase. KCREA members went up from $537 to $565. Again, very nominal. So you're talking what, like 30?
I set your alarm for 5:37.
Okay, Siri. That needs to get clipped. $30, $50, and $23. So $100 is what it went up. Not a lot. And they went from paying in installments, which was whacked anyway, because they had a 7-month and a 5-month.
Yeah. You know what
Installment.
pisses me off that they really do though? The voluntary
The involuntary GLAR pack.
that puts it on there, and you have to go
Short
in.
pay.
Yeah, you have
the
to
short
go
pay.
in there and select $0. That pisses me off.
Yeah, it does frustrate me that they assume or they take the stance that every member will support the political action committee. Because I mean, what value have political action committees brought you? None that I can tell. And why do you presume to know my politics? Like, seriously, I don't belong or prescribe to ideals and beliefs and support candidates because I'm a realtor. Like, oh, this is the realtor candidate. That's who I'm supporting. No, I pick my own candidate.
They got me the first time ever. I paid my dues 6
Yeah,
years
and you
ago,
didn't realize
and
it?
then I haven't done it since.
Yeah, I agree.
And I actually
swear
make
to
it a
every month.
point to go into workplace. Usually, I didn't
And
this
tell
year,
everybody-
but I tell
remind everybody.
everybody, do not, if you don't want to,
Don't do it.
This is on there.
Yep, it's wild, man.
That's the only thing that pisses me off.
yeah, that's I've not been
because with the
a fan of that
dues, I
either.
mean, I'm just going to pay it and move on. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, a lot of people are angry. Did you see this graphic floating around Twitter the last few days?
Adult milestones share. Yeah, maybe.
So I just found this interesting. I saw a lot of people sharing it. And we've talked about this kind of before, how when they decoupled the dollar from the gold standard, all of these certain milestones started falling. So, and they don't talk about this with this chart right now. I just remember it from when we previously talked about it. But it's adult milestones, share of U.S. 30-year-olds who live on their own. So 1983, it was like around 85%.
Yeah.
Of U.S. of 30-year-olds living on their own. Now it's under 65%.
Wow.
So share of U.S. 30-year-olds who are living on their own, it's just a straight drop. Have ever married. So it was around close to 80% in 1983. Now it's about 45% of U.S. 30-year-olds who are married. So have ever married. So not even like got married and got a divorce, have ever married. So less than 50% of U.S. 30-year-olds have ever married. Live with a child, that's close to 30% now. It was around 60% in 1983. Now it's close to 30%. Own a home was right around 50% in 1983. Now it's close to 30%.
So what? I mean, if you're not, I will say.
I looked at this and I was like, check.
Yeah. From personal experience, I will tell you, my wife and I had a child. She was 37. It was classified a geriatric pregnancy. I can't believe they still use that word, but they called it a geriatric pregnancy because my wife was over 37 years of age when she got pregnant with our third. So like, think about that. You're not married. You don't own a home, or you've never been married. You don't own a home, and a lot don't even live alone. Like, I mean, no wonder you hear stories of population collapse and, falling below replacement age and things like that. Because, I mean, if at 30, these milestones have not been met, then you're not going to, in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying 30 is the new 20, 40 is the new 30.
I can see
50
that.
is the new 40, but you can see that, but doesn't mean you're going to live longer.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we are consistently living longer.
Yeah.
right? Which is great. But
I thought that's been falling in the U.S. though.
well, so average life expectancy fell post-COVID, despite the average age of death randomly being higher than life expectancy. So I don't know. There's a whole lot of crazy statistics out there.
Well, here's a trend that's going up. 39.8% of all U.S. homeowners are now mortgage free. It's a new all-time high. So almost 40% of all homeowners don't have a mortgage.
That's pretty crazy.
Which it is. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that is strongly influenced by the boomers.
Oh, absolutely.
They own the majority of the homes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw one of these accounts tweet last night, something about how the average baby boomer has 300,000 in stock equity, 300,000 in home equity, and 50,000 in savings. So like a net worth of like 650,000, which I feel like in and of itself sounds great for an average $650,000 net worth, but also sounds low to me.
Yeah.
Like a $350,000 home equity on a paid off mortgage. I mean, that's right now, that's entry level price point in our market. So if you're a boomer that bought a house in the 80s even, let's say, and you paid your mortgage off, let's say you refinanced it a couple times, but you paid it off, I would have a hard time believing that the average boomer, even in the city of Louisville, that has a paid for home wouldn't have a value north of $500K in a lot of cases. And certainly enough to pull the average up above 300,000. The equity in the stock market, if you've been working and you've been saving and contributing to a 401k, that's not like an impressive number.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. You know, we've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about the amount of wealth held, the world's wealth, like something like 16% of the world's wealth is held by United States baby boomers.
Yeah.
Like all the world's wealth. Like the United States in and of itself, I think only holds like 32% of the world's wealth, and 50% of that is by one generation. So, I mean, the boomers are the picture of wealth across the world. So I don't know. It's interesting. I do believe you're correct though, that's very driven by baby boomers. Paid for houses, outside of the baby boomer generation is few and far between.
So, all right, we already talked about Resi Club once. We're going to again.
Okay.
Once again, the Resi Club, it's a subscription service you can pay money to, and you can dive a lot more in depth on some of these statistics and run your own analysis.
Nice.
It's pretty awesome. But they also
expensive?
put out a lot. No, they also put out a lot of really good data for free on Twitter. It's just good marketing for them, I assume. But they ran a home builder survey in August of how home builders now expect to change buyer's agent compensation as a result of the NAR settlement, according to the latest survey. So, lowering the buyer's agent commissions, only 10% of home builders expect them to change that way. No changes to buyer agent commissions, 85%. So, home builders, they've been doing it for a long time, and they know what gets homes sold.
Yeah.
And 85% of home builders expect no changes to buyer agent compensations, which is great to see. 6% said switching from a percentage to a flat fee commission, and then raising the buyer agent commissions 0%.
Well, that's encouraging. It's encouraging considering the fact that, we're extremely short on inventory, and at least, Kamala Harris's, economic plan has supposedly, we haven't seen details, but supposedly a big, emphasis on constructing new affordable homes. So presumably the nation's largest builders, possibly heavily surveyed here, expect to continue to pay agents. So that's. I'll be honest, man. Every big builder I've ever worked with has always seen the value in real estate agents. Yep. Now from time to time you'll get an overzealous salesperson that gets paid better if an agent's not involved, and you'll see the builder, come out in support of their employee versus the agent that was potentially involved. So, but more often than not, it seems that they feel like it's good business to support real estate agents because
they want to be known as a builder too that
supports,
offers buyer agent compensation.
That supports agents and offers buyer agent compensation as a seller because they want their inventory to sell and they want to foster great relationships there. They know that the best buyers are always represented by a good agent.
Yeah.
And they want to make friends, not enemies, which makes a ton of sense to me.
And, I will say I'm heavily involved in the new construction scene in Hardin County. And it's just kind of, 5%, it's usually 2.5 is what I see a lot of home builders do. I've seen that trend down some, but, that's what it is. And the builder I work for, he knows buyer agents are important, and he's wanted to be very vocal about that on his Facebook page that, hey, nothing's changing with our operations. Like, come sell our homes.
For sure.
And agents have loved it so far. So.
Yeah, that's I think the right stance to take. I've been in communication with some of the nation's largest builders that are present here in the Louisville market, dissecting the settlement. It's funny, a lot of the content that we've put out has put us in a position to be kind of a bit of a local thought leader when it comes to this stuff. And so I've gotten calls literally, hey, Jay, what do you think we should do on this? Is there anything that we should change? How should we talk to our legal departments, and what forms do you feel like we should draft? What gets us, compliant, but how do we stay on the side of very good real estate agents that want to bring their clients and put them in a good investment, a well-constructed home?
Yep. All right. This is the article I sent you yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it. So the article reads, Leo Chris, who sold a $79 million Miami mansion to Jeff Bezos, is suing real estate brokerage Douglas Elliman for $6 million. Chris alleges the brokerage didn't disclose Bezos as a buyer, which he claims would have influenced his pricing decision. The property was initially listed at $85 million, and Chris suspects he could have negotiated a higher sale price. The brokerage, which earned over $3 million in commission, denies knowing Bezos' identity at the time of sale.
Yeah. So my comments are, there are states, Kentucky being one of them, where anonymous or alias buying is completely legal. Now, this is not alleging illegality, right? This is in civil court. They're suing for damages. So something doesn't necessarily have to be legal to cause damage. I guess they're saying policy and procedure, the policy and procedure of Elliman presumably keeping Bezos' identity secret, it cost him money, and that's what he's alleging. It is noted, right, in the little blurb that they deny knowing his identity. I will tell you that someone like Jeff Bezos, is probably completely capable of keeping his identity concealed through a real estate transaction. For example, Elon Musk is on record stating that he owns no real estate. Elon Musk virtually owns no assets aside from equity in companies that he's founded. Did you know that?
What was that?
I said Elon Musk is on record as basically owning no assets other than stock in companies he's founded. And he does not liquidate his stock. He tends to leverage his stock into agreements to use assets like luxury penthouse apartments and things like that, or they're owned by Tesla or SpaceX or things like that they afford him through his comp plan that he now has to fight for in court. They afford him the use of said things as a part of his comp plan. So, I think there's more to the story.
So I'm reading an article now, so I'll read a little more on it.
Yeah, I think there's more to the story.
In his lawsuit, Chris claims he asked Douglas Elliman CEO Jay Parker point blank if Amazon founder Jeff Bezos was behind the purchase. Parker allegedly misleadingly assured Chris that Bezos was not behind the offer and was not the purchaser, according to the lawsuit. Parker also allegedly asserted that the buyer would not pay more than $79 million for the home versus the $85 million listing price. Leo Chris, the co-founder of Brazilian toy and electronics company Tectoy, bought the property for $28 million in 2014.
Yeah.
Goes on to say, it added, Chris believed that it was.
So he's doing terrible.
Yeah.
He paid 28 and sold it for 79.
Yeah, which you don't know what he put into it, but still.
This is true.
So Chris speculated that Bezos might be behind the offer on his home because the Amazon founder had previously acquired 11 Indian Creek Island Road, a property adjacent to his mansion, the lawsuit notes. So they did say it's common in Florida for properties like this to be bought through a trust where the identity of the person can be hidden. I don't know. It just goes to show you this can happen at any price point.
It really can. The thing that I think is different about this scenario, okay, obviously you got a guy that owns a $79 million property. So he obviously has a ton of resources. Okay. I have a hard time having sympathy for someone that sold something for 79 when paying 25. Don't know what he put in it, but I think it's safe to say he made a nice little return. $6 million is probably a very strategic number. It's very easily arrived at because it was the difference between his sale price and his list price.
Yes.
He also understands that $6 million means very little to Jeff Bezos.
So it said in the article it's 0.006% of Bezos' net worth.
So how easily do you think Bezos arrives at the decision to pay this man to make him go away? Like, I think it's highly likely. I think Bezos.
You think Bezos will pay the guy to go away?
Well, I don't know.
He's not suing Bezos.
Well, I mean, he could possibly. I mean, Douglas Elliman could then countersue Jeff for putting them in a position to conceal his identity.
I don't know. I'd be scared of Bezos.
I mean, they made $3 million and they're being asked for $6 million. I don't know that Douglas Elliman pays it. I don't know. This is a whole weird thing. Frankly, it makes me excited to not be heavily invested in luxury real estate because that's where these things tend to happen. I mean, we sell some luxury real estate. We sell some very nice real estate, but these fights are ugly.
Yeah.
And nobody turns out looking good.
Between
I
two
guess you're right. I guess you're right. They're not alleging that Bezos did anything wrong. They're alleging that Douglas Elliman did something wrong by concealing his identity. Now, so it's a 3.7% commission. I did that math real quick, right? So it was probably a dual agency deal, right? A disclosed dual agency deal, which I believe is legal in the state of Florida. So it was a disclosed dual agency deal. So in essence, they're arguing, the seller is arguing that Elliman, while under contract to represent them, engaged in dual agency improperly by serving the best interest of the buyer versus the best interest of the seller.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you prove that? When you've made a statement, this is the offer they'll make. They won't, they say that they won't increase it. Did the seller have the right to counteroffer? They did.
Yeah.
So why didn't they? Okay, if they suspected it was Bezos, I mean, what did the agent say? I don't know. I can't say. I mean, if you are representing someone in a disclosed dual agency situation and they expressly prohibit you from disclosing their identity and it's legal to do so, what do you do, right? What's your answer to that question? Hey, this is a disclosed dual agency situation. I'm unfortunately not at liberty to answer that question.
Yeah. Which
Okay.
is not what he's saying, the agent said. So the agent assured him it wasn't
was not.
Jeff Bezos.
How do you prove that?
You can if it's not in text.
I bet you can. It's not in writing. If it's not in writing, and I bet it's not in writing because those conversations tend to be had, verbally, face to face.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if I'm Douglas Elliman, I don't know. I think I'd rather stay on Jeff Bezos' good side than the
so
other
will you
guy.
eat a $6 million fine or fight it and try to settle? I mean, here's what's probably more likely to happen is the point I made earlier is still valid. Just understanding that the defendant is a different person. They asked for $6 million. What do you think the likelihood they get the $3 million in compensation that Douglas Elliman took from the deal?
I'm gonna do some math real quick.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's always strategic. The ask is always strategic.
So the equivalent of $6 million to Jeff Bezos is his net worth is $202 billion. If somebody's net worth is $100,000,
Yeah,
0.006%, $600.
$600. It's the equivalent of Bezos paying $600.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, it is crazy. I think I heard once that a billionaire paying an employee $250,000 is the equivalent of a $1 million net worth paying someone minimum wage.
Yeah.
Is essentially, you could pay a $250,000 salary is the equivalent of minimum wage to a billionaire, which is kind of wild when you think about it. And also, I'm sitting here scrolling through X a minute ago, and I couldn't help but notice. I'm sure you've seen the feud between Elon Musk and Mark Cuban of late. It's all political, and it's pretty insufferable, but they are kind of funny.
They are funny.
And Elon tweeted this morning to Mark Cuban that his credit card had been declined, and then his profile from Forbes magazine showing his net worth at $5.7 billion. He said something like, "Hey Mark, I paid $44 billion for this app." He goes, "Your credit card has been declined," because he's only worth 5.7. I just think, I can't even.
I would love to be on the short end of that stick.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I think I'd be a little quieter than Mark has been, though.
All right, last thing I have. So, do you see Lunchly versus Lunchables? So Logan Paul, KSI, and Mr. Beast. So they're
coming up with a.
So they're available in stores now. So everybody knows what Lunchables
Are they going to be healthy?
Healthier.
Like non-GMO,
everybody knows Lunchables, and everybody knows Logan Paul, KSI, and Mr. Beast. So Prime and Feastables is doing a collab where they have something called Lunchly now. Really clever name. But it's literally the same box. You get a Prime bottle, you get a Mr. Beast chocolate bar, and basically the same meals that are in Lunchables. But the difference is there's less sugar in Lunchlies. The protein's about the same. There's a little bit less calories in Lunchly, which I don't know is a good thing because it's only 300 calories, which I would assume somebody going to school needs more calories than that. But everybody's pissed off at Logan Paul and these guys for putting out a product that's unhealthy. But when you really look at it, it is healthier than Lunchables. Lunchables can't even call their cheese. They have to call it like a cheese product. And they're using actual cheese in Lunchlies. So it is healthier.
And it's processed.
Their point is people are buying these anyways. Let's put out a little healthier product.
A slightly healthier product.
Well,
I'm interested to see, if.
I just was curious to know if your kids have asked about them yet.
No, they haven't, and we don't. We let the kids eat school lunch.
That's what I did always.
I did too. I never took lunch,
but I'd always get extras.
Yeah, for sure. We spent a fortune on kids' lunch. But talking about inflation, kids' lunches are out of control. It's like $5-6 now.
What?
Yeah,
I think it was like.
And they make sure it gets more expensive than that at least one day a week.
$250.
At least one day a week they have pizza or like delivery pizza or Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Really? And those Chick-fil-A sandwiches $6. Wow. Just the sandwich. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My oldest has been going through a little stomach issue lately, so we've been sending his lunch. And honestly, I hope we're building healthier habits because it's just so easy to let your kids get away from that out of convenience. I mean, it's just, I take all 3 kids to school 5 days a week. Yeah, I get them up, I get them ready, I get them out the door. And it's just hard. You know, the lunchroom at the beginning of school, the school was doing some renovations. So the lunchroom was down for 2 weeks, and I had to pack lunch for all 3 kids every day for 2 weeks. And like, obviously first world problems, that's not like the hardest thing in the world. But, man, it was frustrating. It was tough. It was, you know, just getting them up and out of school, out of the house in the morning is enough.
Yeah.
Adding that extra was frustrating, trying to get something that they would eat. But yeah, I haven't heard anything about the Lunchables. My 12-year-old's a big Prime fan. So I mean, that would
Also,
be
I don't know.
something that he would
They also
appreciate.
Prime has a lot more electrolytes, and I know electrolytes are very important and good. But I don't know how much somebody in elementary school, how many electrolytes they should be having.
Yeah, I mean, like, the kids are so resilient. I mean, you just realize how the years take a toll on you. I'm interested. I'm curious, and you know, I'm obviously politically agnostic, you know, as much as I can be. And I've said that on this podcast. But you know, I'm interested if Trump does win. I'm interested to see what impact RFK will have on the national discourse around food. Like, I mean, he has a lot, and some people call him a crackpot. That's fine. But like, I've gone down the rabbit hole a few times on like different things that are in our foods. And it is kind of crazy. You know, you talk about those graphs, right? You know, around those same times that we're talking about, like 1980-ish, you know, the vaccine schedule got drastically expanded. You know, a lot of technology around food really exploded around that time. You got a lot more genetically modified stuff, a lot more, artificial ingredients. Like, I mean, I just think about, like, did you have Kraft singles in your house growing up? Like, when you make it a turkey sandwich at home, was it a Kraft single?
I didn't eat much cheese growing up.
Okay, well, like, when I look at that stuff now, I get a little ill to myself. Like, in my stomach, I think that was like what I would eat that, and like, it looks like plastic.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, I just think, I hope I'm making better choices to just keep things in our house. Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, you know, clean proteins. You know, we eat way too much gluten. We eat way too much bread. We eat way too much pasta. But I just hope I'm making somewhat of a difference for my kids, because, and I'm interested to see what RFK would do with respect to that. I mean, obviously, he got no traction in the election himself. There's a lot of people, you know, I don't know, some people set up to like 10% were interested in voting for him, but that would never get him in the White House. Yeah. Having him involved in some sort of administration is interesting to me, because I would like to see someone that actually knows and cares. I mean, Trump eats McDonald's, daily.
Well, the system also makes it impossible for a third party
to
candidate.
Get
elected. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I mean, we don't have to go into that any further depth, but as we're talking about like a healthier lunch option for kids, like, I mean, I've gone so far as, like, there are certain things in essentially every bread you would buy off the shelf at a grocery store that are supposedly, like, and I forget what it was. But
fresh sourdough, man, at the farmer's market.
Fresh sourdough at the farmer's market's great. There's a couple of like brands, like really offshoot kind of brands that you can get at some grocery stores that like are Dave's is one of them. It's weird, man. It's sticky. You eat Dave's bread before? Good. It is good, but it's sticky. You ever eat a sandwich on Dave's? Yeah. It's like it gets all over your fingers and stuff. You got to get used to it. But there's a couple of brands that are missing certain things that are like a specific kind of acid, I think is what it was. Nitric acid, I think, is one of them. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
All right, that's all I got, man.
Yep, that's all the time we got for you this week, folks. We appreciate you tuning in as always. We will be back at you next week here on the podcast. Catch us anywhere you podcast, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Throw us a review, a like, a follow, whatever is at your disposal to show that you appreciate the show. And follow us anywhere you social, at JPitts Realtor, at ryanharris.re. And again, that's all we got for next time. We'll see you soon.
Peace.